listening to The Daily Show.
The Daily Show?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show.
On Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
With Russ Kane.
That'll be me. Phil Dave hates that new jingle. I had it done on Fiverr, by the way, if you ever want stuff done on Fiverr. It's very, very good. How are you, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. You're tuned into Men's Radio Station all over the world. And now we go to our roving reporter. We never know quite where he is. But if I lived in New Malden, I'd be in my car as much as humanly possible, because the best view is that in its rearview mirror. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Long.
Yes, I am very peripatetic.
Are you allowed to say that? I don't know what you're allowed to say
It's
anymore.
a great word, isn't it? Peripatetic.
What is it? Where are you? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Peripatetic means moves around a lot. And I'm in Hailing Island today.
Oh, yes. Down by the static home, which doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we're trying to get that fixed, actually. I think I might have a solution to that.
I want to come down. You very kindly said, come down. Why don't you just go and start, take some time off, immerse yourself in your book and just, writing the next book, which I want to do. And I've been trying to do that for like freaking ages. We haven't got Wi-Fi down there, so I'm screwed.
I think we're close to solving that, actually. I will.
Fantastic.
I think we're so close to solving that. So
what you could do, and it's just a suggestion, is put Liz Saul holding an aerial on the roof of your static home.
That's what I was planning on doing.
And she can go left a bit. You go right a bit.
Yeah, no, that was the plan.
And that would be it.
You know that?
Because I'm a genius. That's why I get the huge bucks. That's why I get the
you are, clearly. I went to see Darren Hayes last night. Are you familiar with Darren?
He told me about it.
Yeah, Savage Garden. Well, he's not Savage Garden anymore.
We used to tweet, he and I, bizarrely. Bizarrely. Yeah, seriously.
Absolutely fantastic. The speech he did, all about mental health and the struggles he's faced.
Well, get hold of him, for God's sake.
If you can. That 5-minute speech, there was not a dry eye in the house, including mine. It was so touching.
This was at the Palladium, wasn't it?
This was at the London Palladium, yeah. Absolutely.
I have a question for you. Why is it that the audio and the picture is perfect when you're sitting in your car, and when you're in your home studio, it's shit?
Go figure. I can't understand it.
It's extraordinary.
Well, I could be your roving reporter.
This is as clear as like you're in the next room. I don't get it, man.
I could do roving reporter. You could send me out to places to interview people, and we could do it live on the air. I'm serious.
Yeah, you could do that. I'm not paying for your petrol, though. We haven't got the budget.
Charming.
Speaking of budgets, I don't know. That's a complete non sequitur. Anyway, you look well. It's lovely to see you so clearly. Was it packed, by the way, at the Palladium yesterday?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
He was
before we get on
so
to our
happy
first
that so
guest,
many people turned up. It's been an 11-year gap since he toured last, and
holy moly!
Yeah, 11 years.
Before we get into our first guest, it behooves me, and I don't often do this, but we lost Paul O'Grady out of the blue last night. 67 years old, which is no age.
I know. Did you know him personally? I
met him once. And he was absolutely charming. Couldn't have been nicer. We did some work. We did a piece of work together, and he really could not have been nice. And what you will see on social media today is an outpouring of love for Paul O'Grady. The reason being that he was exactly as he seemed. He was charming. He was very funny. He was groundbreaking. He was delightful. And the best thing, of course, is he loved animals and particularly loved dogs. And you know how I feel about dogs, etc. And he was a genuinely very, very nice man who cared more about other people than he did about himself.
And groundbreaking for what he did for the LGBT community, of course.
Completely so, because it was very, very, it's interesting. Kenton, we'll get on to you in a sec. Hold your horses. You have to understand that we take it for granted now, and I don't like drag queens. It's just not my particular. I like Danny LaRue, but that was kind of it. But then I worked with Danny. But 35 years. It's not really my
no
cup
dog,
of tea.
no Danny.
No Jonty, no Danny, no show. That's a long story and a funny anecdote. And You have to remember that, and what happened was Paul O'Grady. This is how showbiz really works. Paul O'Grady took time off and went to Australia, and they wanted a show, and they put in or was it the other way around? It was the other way around. I think Julian Clary. Yeah, that was it. Julian Clary, who was doing very, very well, took time off, went to Australia, and Paul O'Grady was around. And Paul O'Grady, and he, so Julian Clary was kind of eclipsed. Julian Clary was about as daring as we got back then. Still very funny, still makes me laugh a lot. And Paul O'Grady stepped in, a very, very nice man, taken far too young. But, I was only thinking this morning, and I don't know how you feel, Neil, I would rather go now. I'd rather go this afternoon quickly than have some horrible lingering God only knows what. I really would.
Oh, very much so. Yes. Happy, healthy, dead. That's my plan.
And I tell you what, I hope people would be as nice in their outpourings of love. Probably not, to say what I get. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on our first guest, Kenton Hall.
Hello.
Sounds like a location for a company.
It does. It sounds like somewhere that you would drag a recalcitrant child on a wet bank holiday weekend.
I tell you where we're going, Neil. We're going to Kenton Hall. They have a marvellous exhibition of Gainsboroughs.
Yes,
marvellous.
Because the tapestries are beautiful, Timothy. That's why.
Timothy, take your face out your phone, please. I've brought you all the way to Kenton Hall. It's not cheap coming here.
Don't appreciate what you have in this country.
Okay.
Hello, Kenton. Welcome.
There is a building called Kenton Hall, and I have an occasional sort of Twitter war.
Are you
with
serious?
I often log on and find that people are threatening to hold wedding fairs in me.
And awkward.
Which
that marquee goes up.
Shame, but it's a bit invasive for my tastes. So
yes,
slightly.
I'm definitely cancelling the second one.
I mean, Kenton, they've got to fit in all those canapes for a start.
Well, exactly.
Hurt.
I mean,
they're going to do it one at a time in one go
in this game,
Not to mention the ice sculptures and
I've been divorced twice, so I can't imagine that it's good luck for anyone.
How are you, fella? Are you well?
I'm okay. I have actually just been surfing the back end of a depressive episode, so I'm a little bit punch drunk from it.
Okay.
But
all right,
it felt as it's a good time to talk about it. I suppose.
All right, good. It's been I know you've been booked to come on for absolutely ages here. By the way, I'm not trying to join Kenton in the let's look American and wear a hat. My hair looks like shit today.
No,
it's just easier to put a hat
well.
on than sit here looking like sort of a cross between Tommy Cooper and Ken Dodd. Or Iggy Pop, one of I don't know.
I've definitely found as I've gotten older that hats are starting to form a large part of the wardrobe out of laziness.
I just wonder at my age, Kenton. It's like I don't want people to think that I'm getting like down with the kids, because I'm not. I just don't want to look like a complete twat.
I have two grown-up daughters who assure me I am not down with the kids. So regular. There is grounding in that particular.
Well, Neil's the same, and my kids are. Well, the twins are going to be 25 soon, but the other ones are way older. And believe me, there's nothing more grounding than your kids saying, "Jesus."
Have you got twins?
Just looking at you and shaking their heads in disbelief.
Have you got twins as well?
I got twin. I got twins.
I have a pair of twins to my credit. To my score.
Identical or fraternal?
Yeah, they're 21 now, and I think like every parent twin says, they're identical twins, but they're nothing alike. I don't know how anyone could not tell them apart because their personalities are chalk and cheese.
Mine the same. One's black, one's Chinese. I don't know why people get confused. Kenton, tell us about. I can't believe we did that. Kenton, tell us all about yourself.
All about myself.
Well, as much as you want to in 20 minutes.
Like, just go. I was born a poor. I'm
Were you born on a trunk next to Judy Garland? Was that?
I'm Canadian, writer and musician and actor, and I picked as many different professions as you could starve in.
Okay, that's excellent. You left out painter.
Yeah,
of course.
The painter can at least do a house or something after.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant, artiste.
I know. Yeah, so I thought, like, someone told me to have something to fall back on, and I figured, might as well fall back on things that are sharp. And so I have wended my way in the world.
I love your humour. I really do. I'm going to enjoy this interview. Go on, tell us more.
Great, isn't it?
But as you know, and in keeping with, I also have lived with bipolar disorder all of my life, and sort of navigated parenting and life and life in the arts with a capital A and a capital Ars. And that's what brings me to you here today.
Right. Okay. So were you born? I don't know how these things work. You were born bipolar, or did it develop when you were a teenager, or how did that play out?
The jury's still out. I mean, I last I read, they change these things all the time. They're probably blaming it on a Chinese lab now. I'm not sure. But yeah, that it is a genetic thing, but it can be triggered by childhood trauma, and that seems to be the case for a lot of people, that it's brought on during periods of stress, or I started exhibiting symptoms when I was very young, but they were, particularly at the time, and I think it's still true to an extent, they're loath to kind of diagnose you with like a heavy mental illness until you've sort of got out the other side of adolescence, when your emotions aren't already fizzing in every possible direction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you have something, ghastly suddenly happen? Is there something that you can recognize that triggered it?
I grew up in a cult, so
oh Jesus!
I don't like.
I really want to ask about that. Before we do, can I just show you something? Because I'm only limited all the time because they're just going. Have you ever seen this before? A cooking oil recovery team. Have anyone ever seen that before?
No. Was the cooking oil ill? Were they doing it? Giving it CPR?
No.
Clear.
I just literally just pulled it in the car, but I had to share that.
I've been sneaking my cooking oil over the border in the dead of night, so I probably should.
Shame on you,
them.
You are Boardwalk Empire, fella.
Yeah,
that's what you are. Neil, I'm so sorry. What are they? They're doing what?
Recovering cooking oil. It's the Climate Emergency Service. Recovering cooking oil.
Okay.
Had to share. So you grew up in a cult, a religious
cult?
cult?
I don't like to lead with that because it kind of makes everything else feel like it's like it's dead weight. So you gotta build up to it. Yeah, I was brought up. Well, I was brought up by Jehovah's Witnesses. One of whom had untreated bipolar disorder, so that does argue for the genetic component, and the other one, who as far as I can tell, is just a sociopath.
Sounds good.
It was a horrific childhood, and
jeez. And where was this in This was in Canada?
Yes, it's in Canada, and it's supposed to be nice there.
It's supposed to be lovely there.
I love Canada.
I mean, outside of the house, it was brilliant. Like landscapes, as far as the eye could see, lots of lovely people. Inside of the house, it was an absolute. Let's see, I can't think of a word that's not sweary.
Shit,
it was terrible.
Cluster.
But that it also, while it undoubtedly contributed to the sort of mental health issues I was having, it also did build up my sense of humor and sense of the absurd, which is what has saved my life from my brain many times.
Well, I can tell just by you talking for 14 minutes, you have absolutely wonderful humor. I'm absolutely engaged already in what you're saying. I get a bit edgy, not through your fault, but I hear people talk about cults. I think that kind of brainwashing is just so dangerous. Using something unknowable and unprovable, unprovable certainly, like religion. It's always living on that cusp of fear and control, and that's just no way to live.
No, it really wasn't. And I think you have a kind of survivor's guilt when you're finally out, because particularly if you sort of like me and you're bookish and build a lot of your self-worth around knowledge, and you look back and you're like, how did I believe any of that?
Oh, but did you believe it?
Well, when you're a child and you're brought up in something, your mum and dad tell you something's true and you believe it. I think Absolutely. By the age of sort of 12, 13, I was doubting heavily because I was reading heavily. one of the big things about Jehovah's Witnesses is like the only thing they have to their credit at all is they're not racist, but they are every other race. They're sexist, massively patriarchal.
A friend of mine was brought up Jehovah's Witness. I mean, not in a cult environment, but the stories I heard about them, you just wanted to slap them. To be honest with you, because it was
not that we advocate violence on men's radio.
Metaphorically, but and as far as genuine, what I consider to be genuinely spirituality is the complete opposite of it. Complete opposite. And sold under the guise of genuine spirituality. It's bullshit.
Anywho, moving on from the Golden Book. Jeez, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole because we're being on Christmas Day. Thinking, really, someone was walking along. They found the Golden Book.
Easiest to cover.
Of course they did. Okay, of course.
So how did you get away from what you were being
how
told
did you get away
into coming into your own and being who you wanted to be?
The irony of it, and a trigger warning for anyone that I did have a sort of make an attempt on my own life when I was 16, and ended up with a social worker sitting at the end of my bed saying, "Do you think that the environment that you're living in religiously has something to do with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're such a great detective. Do you think?"
Wow. Thanks, Columbo.
Because you couldn't leave because you'd be shunned by everyone, so you'd have nowhere to go. You'd be on the streets if you left. So you're always in that dilemma.
Yes, don't they call it being disfellowshipped?
That's exactly the one. I did the one better.
Because my friend told me about a meeting where people were disfellowshipped, and it was like they were naughty school children. They weren't thrown out on the street, but they had to sit at the back because they'd been naughty. And at that point, I was just seriously F off. If it's that level,
it's a whole ritualized thing. But I did them one better. I didn't let them fire me. I quit. But I still had to submit a letter, and it had to be read out. And it's such ritualized nonsense. And you can replace nonsense with as strong an Anglo-Saxon word as you care to.
Well, we'll stick with nonsense. We get that. We get it, Ken.
Polite because I'm Canadian.
Yeah, no, of course. The most Canadian. You just watch any episode of Family Guy, and they always go on about how polite Canadians are.
Well, the thing about Canada is, I think this is true with every nation, and this is the weirdness of stereotypes in the first place, is that because Canada has this national stereotype of being this very calm, clean, collected, kind country, which it is in a lot of ways, but it means that just under the surface of that lies a stream of utter weirdness. Like it just bonkers nutso, and I can use that. I'm reclaiming them. And
it's cold.
It is. We have hot and cold running seasons. It is either cold or it is baking.
Yeah, I know. I spent some time in Canada.
We do have slightly more
very
British
nice.
weather,
I always describe Canada as like North America, but with manners.
Yeah, we speak in complete sentences and we're not armed.
Yeah, I described it as America with all the bad bits taken out.
It is. It's true. And it's a beautiful country. Now, tell us about your book, because I've had the thing up all the time, the banner, and it is called Bisection.
It is.
Would you like me to make a simple link for that we can put on the screen? Because I can do that, and it'd be much easier for people to copy. Shall I go away and do that? I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
Okay, and recycle some oil while you're at it.
Yeah,
they've already gone. They're doing their recycling.
No. You can start your own business. Always
take me out for a second, Russ. I'll come back in a minute.
Oh, Hattie, you see what I have to put up with? You see,
I love this live radio excitement.
Yeah, we do it. We live. We keep it very. We keep it live and we keep it real. And I've been looking forward to chatting to you. Here we go. The lovely Francoise Pascal. Hello, lovely Russ and lovely Neil. Well, 50% right. My niece lives in Canada. She loves it there.
Oh,
well, who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I probably don't know her, I'll have to say, because I do get a lot of that.
You should do what all North Americans do. They go, "Where are you from?" You go, "I'm from London." "You from London? Oh, God. Do you know my friend Bob? He lives in London."
And see, one time I used to get a lot, and when I first moved to the UK, and then one time I was rearing up like a bear to like attack and go, we don't know each other. It's a huge country. And I knew the person and I was devastated.
Get out. You're kidding me.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, I do know them. I'll send them your regards.
I always go, they go, do you know Bob? I said, is he about so tall? Yeah. I said, I think I do.
Yeah. Bob
I ran
Smith,
into him in Oxford Circus once. Jesus Christ. They think London's got like 3 people, 2 of which are Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. So your book, tell us about your book. And I'm going to
my book, Bisection, is basically a memoir that I wrote about my journey with bipolar disorder with my twins. So rather, because if a regular sort of autobiography for me would raise the question from the audience, who? And that's no good. So
I don't agree with that.
I wrote a book about the journey the 3 of us took together with bipolar disorder in the wings, about how I became a parent and what the journey was like, trying to be the best parent I could while going through some very difficult times with the illness. And actually sort of the journey of using my relationship with them as a kind of spur to actually find the med regimen that really worked for me and to really kind of change my outlook on. And then in between that, there's a lot of jokes. I do think is probably the funniest mental health memoir available for sale.
Good.
It certainly has more jokes per page.
I love jokes
than any other bipolar memoir. Because then I go off on tangents as well, because it is, it's quite. I tried to make the writing as true to how my brain works as I could.
You seem like a very open guy, Kenton.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a question, which I wouldn't normally do.
No, that's fine.
Can you lend me? No, it's this. When you're having one of your, let's say, episodes, I'm not using the right terminology, but bear with me.
No, that works for me.
What does it feel like?
Okay. The best way I can, if it's manic, if it's mania, it starts off like you've woken up in a Disney movie. The birds are singing directly to you. Everything is bright. Everything is happy. You've got energy.
Unless you're
exactly
Jewish,
what you should do. Yeah. And then everything starts to speed up. And the span of media, it is like being in a car going down a beautiful highway, but suddenly someone has put their foot to the accelerator and they won't take it off, and you can't make them. So it goes from being this absolute rush, and if you can ride that as long as you can, but then it starts to speed up and you start to feel out of control. You can't focus on anything. You can't grab onto a thought. It starts to hurt, like physically hurt. Like
in what way?
It feels like your brain is actually on fire.
Wow.
And this is all in just the sort of the mania mode. And you do in that early part when you're having fun, you lose all impulse control and you lose all decision making facility. This is my experience. I can't speak to anyone else's. And then it starts to hurt you. The images are flashing so fast, the thoughts are coming so quickly that it is just painful. And either that eventually fades or dips back the other way into depression, or it breaks through that sort of pain barrier and it goes into psychosis, and then you're gone. And
how long is this lasting? So you're minding your own business and suddenly you're in a Disney movie, as you fascinatingly described it. So does this come out of nowhere? Do you get any little trigger signs, any warning signs?
I learned to spot them later on.
Okay.
Usually you start with like a little bit of, you start to get a burst of energy. Usually the thing is that it's particularly if you go into a manic phase, because you're coming out of a depressive phase, you can mistake it for just feeling better, but then you start to feel too much better too quickly from the depression that you've been in. everybody's kind of span of episodes is very different. I mean, I would go through periods where, you know, I would have weeks of mania and then weeks.
Weeks. Oh my God.
It.
Wow.
And then sometimes it would be more rapid cycling than that, which some people get, which it could be like have like 2 or 3 really high days and then 2 or 3 sort of desperately low days. But the hardest.
How low is low? I mean, we kind of try to dig deep here at Men's Radio, especially on my daily show. How low is low?
The lowest is it's actually beginning to break through my sort of self-imposed limit of you can't end it because you have children. That's the lowest.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The lowest is when that starts to seem as though that is a rule that could be broken.
Oh,
you're better off. And that kind of thinking, the kind of thinking of as well, actually everyone would be better off.
That's classic depression thinking.
That is classic,
isn't it?
Yeah,
it's classic depression, and everyone around you can see it's not true, apart from the person who's so deeply involved in it.
Kenton, I got to tell you something, which is really, really key to what the work that we try and do on MRS. It's this, that all the people I've had as guests, many, who have attempted to end their own lives, have all said exactly the same thing. They felt at that point that their family and friends would be better off without them. Yeah. And they couldn't see past that point at all. They couldn't see past it. And thank God you did. But it's a horrible, common, ghastly thread, and it's a terrible thought pattern.
Yeah.
Because it's not true. Because they love you. You know, they love you. And that's the point. And they would be devastated. And as I always say, I get very emotional about this. For the person who takes their own life, their suffering is over. And for everybody left behind, their suffering has just started, and it'll last a lifetime. And that's really the main fuel why I want to do this, why we work so hard.
I've created a simpler link for the book. I've put it in the chat, Russ, so you can pop it on the screen.
Okay. I don't know how I do this.
Live actions necessary.
All right, give me a second. I don't know how
you go to create a banner.
Oh, Christ. I have no idea how to do this. You know I don't.
Copy it from the chat, go to banners, click create banner, click show.
God. Can't you do this?
Not on my phone, I'm afraid, no.
I'll put it up later. I can't do it. I don't know how the hell to do it. I'm really sorry.
I'll tell you what it is. tinyurl.com/Kenton Hall. tinyurl.com/Kenton Hall.
Marvelous. That would do. But I don't know how to copy. All right, never mind. So, because we haven't got long. Would you come back? Because there's so much to try and unpack here.
I'm happy to come back. We'd
love you to come back. So you're based now in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you spend most of your time doing?
Writing is the key, but I've just sort of moved. But I'm also a musician. I've just all over the pandemic, I finally put together a new album, which is 36 tracks, and then we got 36 artists to cover the songs. So it's a 72 track package. If you look for Kenton Hall and the Necessary Measures, you'll find that. So I'm probably going to go out on tour for that in a couple of months.
Okay.
There was something interesting you said, like me being very open. I think for me, and in keeping with kind of the mission of you guys and the station is the shows, is that for whatever reason, accidentally, I know a lot of bipolar people, spoken to a lot of bipolar people who cannot tell you how it feels. They don't have the words for it. They can't articulate the suffering they're going through, or even they can't articulate the sort of positive changes they've been able to make. So I feel because for whatever reason, I am a wordy son of a bitch, then I kind of have a responsibility to say something because I can.
Yes.
And I can talk it and I can make it light and I can throw a joke in to lighten just to keep it. that's my craft. That's what I've spent my life learning how to do. Your mileage may vary, how funny you think I am, but I think I have a responsibility to talk about it because for whatever reason, that's my craft, is that I can articulate.
I've only known you half an hour, and I think what an absolutely wonderful chap, and I just wish you all the very best with everything you do, and in your healing process as well. I found in mine that the dark moments, and I've had the dark moments, but they would get less regular, less intense, and less long. Had one last night, but it was a lot less regular and a lot less long. Rather than just living it all the time, it would just lasted an hour or so, and it hadn't happened for a couple of months.
That's
and 1 hour every couple of months is pretty good, you know.
That's right. That's right. Do I have your direct contact? I'm sorry to do this live on air. I don't think I do. But if you private message me, chat, I don't know if you can do that. I think you can.
I can, yeah.
If you look on the left, send me that and we'll get you back on, because there's so much. There's so much to talk about. And I think you are a terrific advocate. You put your finger on the pulse, is that for whatever reason, you have the ability to communicate this where other people simply don't have the lexicon.
Yeah, you do it beautifully, absolutely, really articulately. tinyurl.com/Kenton Hall. Maybe somebody could put it in chat and we could pop it on the screen.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Right, Kenton, thank you very much. It's
thank you.
I would talk to you for the rest of the hour, but it's you're welcome to stay if you want, or you can go whatever you want.
I got nowhere to be. I'm a writer.
Oh, you're a writer. Well, you got sod all else to do there, and you've got to procrastinate. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's just get the banners sorted out. This is so professional. It is Hatti Suvari. Ta-da!
Hey, hello everybody.
I'm putting our guests up the top. There we go. That's better.
I could be anywhere.
How are you, Hattie?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Well, how long you got? So this week's legal conundrum is travel. I'm reading this out. If you're listening to this on Deluxe Radio, 70,000 of you, your rights with a delayed flight, lost luggage, and can you change a name on a flight ticket? What you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, the mighty legal brain that is Hatti Suvari.
Thank you once again for that lovely intro. Can I just say that just to start the show, R.I.P. Paul O'Grady.
Oh yeah, we covered that at the front end of the show. Neil and I
just wanted to quickly say that because I grew up watching Paul O'Grady and what a sad and sudden loss. But yes, today, what are your rights?
It's a loss to us, but as I always say, I'd rather go this afternoon and just drop dead than have some ghastly lingering illness and make my family, especially my kids.
I always say that.
I just honestly, I'd rather get hit by a bus and finish.
I get it. I totally get it.
I can't bear it. Yeah. Where's he gone? Come back. Neil. Stop picking around.
Neil's extraordinary today. He's
I don't know. He's in and out like a fiddler's bloody elbow. He is.
I don't know.
You got to watch me today, Hattie. And if you'd like your jingle, let me know at any time. I'll do your jingle.
I love it. I've actually done a TikTok just on that clip for you. Did you send it to him, Russ? Did you send him the link?
Kenton should do it. Kenton Hall.
I don't have. I've got to get your email because I sent it to Russ and said send it on to Neil. So send me an email and then I'll ping it over to you. But it was a great jingle.
I will. Hattie, sorry to butt in. I'm with a friend today, and he heard I was talking. I told him what show I was on, and he heard I was talking to a legal, and he's given me 2 questions to ask you. So I don't know, but they will probably help other people. But if I can slip those in before the end, that'd be great.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, just flag me up when we're near the end, and we'll have a chat about that. So I want to talk about your rights. You're welcome. Your rights with a delayed, cancelled, or rescheduled flight. What you can claim for lost luggage and how, and can you make a name change on a flight ticket? So statistically, and you know I love a bit of statistics. The UK is the second worst country in Europe for flight delays and cancellations.
What a surprise!
Yes, and every day
I didn't even get the Jubilee line right.
And every day, over 210,000 passengers land or depart in the UK. So lots of people, as we know, go and come from where we are, but lots of people don't know where we stand with all this stuff. So I'm going to start with the easiest. Well, lost or delayed luggage. Key points, okay? When luggage is lost, delayed or damaged, airlines are liable for your losses. However, compensation will depend on the value of what you've lost, and the maximum compensation is £1,000, unless before you board your flight and at the point of when you're checking in your luggage, you say, I have something worth more than £1,000 in my luggage, and here's the proof of that. Will the airline take responsibility for covering it if it gets lost or damaged? They will usually say, well, thank you very much for letting us know. Some airlines will say, well, maybe, perhaps, and they'll go and call managers in and scurry around. But most will probably say, did you get travel insurance? And
So,
does your travel
Hattie,
insurance know?
what do you got to go show them a receipt? What do you got to show them?
Well,
You're standing in the queue. You've got 50,000 people behind you. Everyone's in a bad mood. And you say, oh, by the way, I've got a Fabergé egg worth £500,000.
Well, yes.
How's that going to work?
Well, if you've got something that you have to transport from, take with you, and you have got a receipt or proof or valuation of it or something, you could show it. But I would say to you, have that chat with your insurer, your travel insurance, before you go, to make sure that anything over £1,000 in your luggage will be covered for your journey. Now, if your luggage has been lost, most airlines will reimburse you for bare essentials, such as, toiletries, underwear, and laundry costs. If you got to the other side and it's not home, it's your, holiday or work destination, and you haven't got your luggage. So, but make sure you keep receipts, and they are under an obligation to reimburse you for the bare essentials. But if your luggage has gone missing, you must report the issue before you leave the airport.
Ooh, okay.
Because if you don't, and you leave without your luggage, and you go home or go wherever, and you think, well, I'll just call it in, they are not going to accept a lost luggage report, because you can imagine you shouldn't even be leaving without your luggage, or if your luggage hasn't turned up, it should be a problem. Okay. And you need to complete what is known as a property irregularity report. I know it's really not a very interesting term, but it is what it is. Ask them to give you a copy of that, because that's your proof that you've reported that your luggage has not turned up.
And at that point, go? One of the things I just, I'm a belt and braces guy. You're standing by the wretched carousel. You're waiting for your bag. It doesn't turn up. You think you're going to be violently sick because you got everything in it, and you got a holiday planned or a business plan, or you're going to give a speech and you got your suit in there. I mean, there's a million and one. You got your medicines in there, your pharmaceuticals, whatever. So now you're in a panic. Where do you go to do all this legal stuff?
Every airport will have a customer services desk. Every airport. And they are usually, and I've seen them in every airport in the UK, lost luggage. It's actually a banner on top that says lost luggage. So just go. If not, just ask, where can I go to report lost luggage? The most important thing for you to remember is do it before you depart. Keep a copy of your property irregularity report. If you're in the UK, if you're abroad, get them to give you something, just even if it's a written note signed and dated to say this person has reported their luggage hasn't turned up. Now, if your luggage does not turn up, you must contact the airline within 7 days of when you came back. Okay. If you don't follow these steps, they will not be obligated to compensate you for your lost luggage. So report it at the airport before you depart. Contact the airline again within 7 days. Getting travel insurance, and I've mentioned this already, is really important, and checking what it covers, because you could have £1,000 excess on it and your belongings might not even amount.
Therefore, it's pointless. Then it's absolutely pointless if you've got £1,000 excess.
But exactly.
The trouble with this is, Hattie, my pal, one of my very best pals, Ray Gelato, travels all the time with his band, Ray Gelato and the Giants. And not long ago, towards the end of last year, they lost everything. He was doing a European tour, and the saxophones went missing. The trumpets went missing. The stage clothes went missing.
Did they ever turn up?
Some of it turned up.
Okay.
The airlines were as unhelpful, I'm not going to mention the names, as difficult and as disinterested as you could possibly imagine. It was an absolute nightmare for Ray Gelato to get some of his stuff back.
Because that's expensive stuff, I should imagine.
That's all the stage suits. Some of those instruments are, nearly 100 years old, so they've got the correct sound and patina. It was awful. But there was no help. There was no consideration. They didn't give a monkeys. Kenton, you travel, presumably. Do you have problems losing stuff? Oh, no, we've lost his sound. Kenton, you got to unmute. No, can't hear you. All right, you fiddle around with the sound.
But let me just say one thing here.
Yeah.
Home contents insurance policies could very well cover your luggage.
Yep.
Most people don't know that.
Yep.
So it's worth checking if you didn't have travel insurance and your luggage has been lost, or you've had to buy other items in order to get by because your luggage didn't turn up on time. Check if you've got home contents insurance, check your policy. And again, check the excess on the policy just to make sure you're not claiming for £200 and your excess is going to be £350 because then you're not going to get anything.
You're not going to get sod all.
Delayed or cancelled flights. What are your rights? Okay, key points on rescheduled flights. If your flight has been rescheduled, you're entitled to a full refund.
Wow.
So if the airline says any part of your flight, either your departure, going out or coming in, has been rescheduled, for example, it happened to us last week. You're not going out at 5 p.m. You're going to go out at 3 a.m. You're entitled to a full refund on those tickets.
Wow.
Delayed flights. If your flight was leaving,
I really want you to underline that point, because you get there, they say, well, you're there for a 6 o'clock in the evening flight, let's say to LA or something, I don't know. And they say, well, sorry, it's not going on till 3. You don't want to sit in that airport for 9 hours. I mean, you go around the bend, right? There's only so many Weatherspoons you can visit. You can get all your money back, right? I just want to really.
Well, let's just clarify this. If you've already done the first leg of your journey, so you've gone out, you're at your destination, and they've said, right, you're going to fly 8 hours later now. We've just had to reschedule. You are entitled to a refund on that element of your flight because you've already flown out, but you're coming back. But if you haven't flown out to your destination yet, and they're changing a part of your journey, i.e., you're going out or you're coming back and you haven't done any part of the journey yet, you're entitled to a full refund because that is not what you paid for and contractually bought.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Delayed flight. If your flight was leaving or arriving in the UK, and it doesn't matter which airline, the airline has to give you 2 hours, if they've been delayed for 2 hours or more, food and drink. Right. If you've been delayed for 3 hours or more, access to phone calls and emails. If you've been delayed overnight, they have to give you accommodation local to the airport, and they have to transport you to and from the accommodation. But here's the key point here, okay? And this is going to be probably argued. Well, sometimes it probably can be. If the airline doesn't give you any of the above for your 2 hour or 3 hour or overnight delay, keep receipts, make a claim. But delays must be down to the airline and not as a result of bad weather or something out of the airline's control. For example, strikes, airport strikes. If the delays are down to a result of really bad weather, then compensation, it can be argued on behalf of the airline. So just bear that in mind. If your flight is cancelled, the airline has to legally give you a full refund for the flight and any other onward flights that you may not be able to use. If you're halfway through a journey, then the airline has to give you a free flight back to where you came from. And you could also claim compensation if your flight was cancelled less than 14 days before your departure. So package holidays, again, same applies.
This is in from New York City. What about if I want to reschedule, says Elizabeth Green. I had a BA flight, 3 weeks of calling. Eventually, they said I can change it for £2,000. That's nice of them. It was booked through them.
Yes, unfortunately, when you buy it is a little bit unfair the way this whole thing works, right? Because when you, as your the lady just said, if you turn up and say, I want to make changes, there's going to be a cost. And I'm going to come on to that with the name change.
Okie dokes.
So I am going to also give you, because you mentioned your friends who'd lost lots and lots of stuff. There are
all their
some
stage suits and
very helpful websites that do and would go through the whole claim for you. You literally just put the flight number and the date of travel, and you can go back and claim for up to 3 years ago.
Wow.
On anything that you may be due some money back for or compensation for, and they will look at whether you're due anything. Quite interesting. I didn't know they existed until I started to do the research.
Okay.
So there's lots of laws that cover us. Delays and cancellations. There's something called without boring you with it, the UK 261 regulation. There's laws on baggage.
There's laws on baggage.
The Montreal Convention, 1999.
That's Neil coming through speakers, so we'll take him off.
Package travel, package holiday, package tour regulations Act 92. That's the boring stuff. That's the bits of the law. Okay. So very quickly, can you change your name on a flight ticket? It's one of my most watched videos on TikTok because people want to know, can you? Because you get such a hard line from so many airlines, it makes you think that, no, that cannot be done. And it's happened to me in the past where I thought, do you know, I can't go to that trip, but I know somebody that can. So the headline on can you change a name on a flight ticket is that, I mean, airlines will typically tell you the reason for that tickets are non-transferable is for security purposes. But the truth is, from a legal perspective, you can absolutely change your name on a flight ticket because there is no law that states that you can't. Okay, so that's the headline.
Right. Okay. I'm a little lost here.
There's no law that says you cannot change your name on a flight ticket. What's really happening is that the airlines want to control their revenue, and making changes to tickets has administrative costs.
Bullshit.
So airlines will say that any change will depend on whether the ticket has been issued or not. So I'm sure people have heard that. Some airlines will allow it for a fee. Some airlines won't allow anything. For example, BA will not allow a name change on a ticket.
They are not known for their helpfulness. I must be honest with you.
I have to say, trying to get help on any customer services desk on the phone or online in the last, I think, 2 years has been a nightmare. I think.
Well, they're
not
care.
running. No,
they don't.
You just can't. You can't even get through.
No, of course not. This is where it all falls down. You've got the law, which you're stating very. I'm going to try Neil one more time. Only in as much, Neil, I know you can hear me, but your sound is coming through, and it's an echo, and it's ain't working properly. So we're going to try. We're going to try one more time, and then I'm going to give up. So, no.
Testing one.
No.
We're echoing.
It
wasn't doing that earlier, was it?
No, it's not. But now he's let's not take time.
Does that mean I'm Neil now?
You are Neil, but there's a cost for that.
Neil.
If you are Neil, there is a cost because you've changed the name on your ticket
so the admin cost,
the men's radio station Daily Show. So I'm afraid there's an administrative
I made the change,
cost.
so that means you owe me the admin costs, I think.
Yes, we owe you several £1,000s, and Elizabeth Green has agreed to pay it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Right,
That's
good.
Contact her in Manhattan. So let me just walk myself through this, Hattie. I've got a ticket in my name, Russell Kane, and I'm flying to New York. And then I decide, no, I'm going to get Kenton. Is going to go, my new best pal, and Kenton Hall is going to go. So all I want to do is change the name on the ticket that I've paid for several £1,000s, presumably, from Russell Kane to Kenton Hall. Walk us through how that works.
Well, the airline will either say you can't make a name change, or they'll say you can make a name change, but at a cost. And as one of our listeners earlier put up, they wanted £2,000 from her to make a change to her ticket. I think she was trying to change something else about it. It's interesting because, as I said, there is no law, and they make you feel that there is a law, security purposes, security reasons. Well, that's not the law, is it? The law doesn't say if you've booked a flight, then there's no way you can go back and make a name change to that. It's all to do with revenue control on behalf of the airlines. It's administratively, it's a nightmare for them. And they just won't, some airlines refuse to do it. And some airlines will say, well, okay, but there is a fee. But the headline here is most people that, as I said, the airlines almost make you feel that there is a law that says you can't. When the moment they say security and all of this stuff, do you think, oh God, of course I can't change my name on a flight. But that's really the headline with it. But in relation to some free help and advice, and particularly with compensation for delayed, cancelled flights, there's 2 websites. There's one particular website I'm going to give you on that. And then there's a second website as well, where there's lots of useful information. So to get free help and advice, there's www.airhelp.com. And I thought that was help.com. I thought that was really easy. So I thought I'll just say that one out. And then in terms of information on anything else to do with airline travel, you can go to caa.co.uk, which is the Civil Aviation Authority's website.
They are so, they all want our business. They all say they're, thank you very much, Liz Saul. I'm trying to,
and we're the greatest airline.
And for some reason, I don't know what's going on. The whole system is slow, and I don't know. It's driving me absolutely.
Don't
insane.
worry about it. Some
I'm
days
really
it's
sorry.
just like
I can't do banners, so Liz, I can't help. And Neil, Liz is saying, put yourself on mute unless you're talking, because all that's happening is we're getting a delayed soundtrack, and we don't want that. So as much as I'm trying to put the banners up and be helpful, I just can't. So why is it these airlines all want our business, all tell us they're wonderful, spend millions on advertising and treat us like garbage?
I have to agree with you. I mean, we've had our own experiences. I've had my own personal experiences where I've just thought this can't be right. A friend of mine was calling a very well-known airline, I won't say who, only a few days ago, and she screenshotted the place she was in the queue, because she did it via online, and she was 188 in the queue. And that was customer services of one of the top 10 airlines in the UK that fly globally. And when she sent that to us, I just thought, you are kidding me. And she was only trying to get through to them because they changed the time of the flight from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Wow.
And that just wasn't going to work. I mean, there's a massive difference between, as you know, between flying, in the afternoon during your waking hours than going in the dead of the night. That was shocking. But you're right. I do think they need to up their customer services on this. But it is a nightmare to try and get through to actually say, I've got a complaint. So I did find, and one of the websites I read out earlier, the airhelp.com, I did find that really helpful, because I thought that's interesting, because they will do all the work for you if you're due any compensation or money back, and they can go back 3 years. So if you had a bad experience last year or the year before, you could, they will do all the legwork. In fact, the law states that you could go back 6 years to make a claim from a cancelled flight, delayed flight, lost items from an airline. So that's interesting in itself. But there you are, a little bit of help on that topic. I think the bottom line is get insurance. Yes, sorry.
I think the thing is that they've got us over a barrel. Any other form of transport, there's an alternative. If you're not happy with the taxi companies in your way, you can buy a car, you can walk, you can get on a bike. But with planes, you're not going to, unless we get slingshots really sorted out, then we just start doling out helicopters to everyone. They're like, if you want to go in the sky, you want to go in the magic sky thing, you got to pay us the money. Because that's the only alternative. They've conquered the skies. It's a monopoly of the skies from the airlines, and I think we need to see to that. Some kind of personalized jetpacks, I think, is the only way forward.
The CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, is supposed to be their governing body. I had to issue a claim against another top 10 airline myself, because they refused a refund on flights that didn't take place. And,
on what grounds? On what grounds did they?
They said you can have vouchers, and that's another very good vouchers. Point. I said you're not my bank. I don't need to keep my money with you. I'd like it back. Thank you very much. And they said, no, we'll only issue vouchers. And that's another thing. You don't have to accept vouchers when airlines issue, if they give you that story. And imagine I can issue an online claim in about 15 minutes.
Wow.
Because I know my way around it. But most people can't. And most people won't even know they could do that. And they wouldn't even know what to put when issuing an online claim. But this was a top 10 world-known, renowned airline telling me that. The moment I issued the claim, they had the check in the post together with the court fee that it cost me to issue. Straight away they settled.
It's pathetic.
Maybe I should do a show on that, on how to issue a claim.
Absolutely. It's pathetic and it's infuriating.
It is.
Because they work on the basis that you're going to go away because it's exhausting and you don't know what you're doing. I'm not being rude, but it's a new area. You know what you're doing, but the rest of us, mere punters, don't know what we're doing and they think we'll go away.
Yeah.
And that's how they work out their revenue stream. It's shocking. It really is. But
this is why we do Get Legally Speaking on Men's Radio Station, Russ, to give people little tokens of key information that they can just park somewhere. They can actually, whether your listeners know or don't know, I'm not sure, but on the Get Legally Speaking website, I have every show that we've done on there. So if they ever want to refresh their memory about what we spoke about, the information we gave, the websites we quoted for help and free advice, because I always try and look at where can people go for free to get help. They can click onto our website /radio. It's all there and they can see it once again.
Absolutely excellent. It is good. Wow. So one of the things that does, when you travel, you're very stressed. And I would imagine, Kenton, you travel a hell of a lot. I haven't been away for 5 years, but when you travel, I find it very stressful. I hate airports. I find the whole thing really makes me very tense. And of course, when something bad happens, you're not in the right headspace to deal with it. Plus, there's normally a huge queue. And if it's in Britain, everybody's tutting behind you. And if it's in North America, they're probably getting out a Glock 9 to make their point. So you're under a lot of pressure. And you don't think that you can take up the time of the airline employee to make your thing.
No, I get it.
Yeah. I'm going to read this out because my system's really playing up today. I'm so sorry. Julie Voice, who was in Houston, Texas, is now in Guildford, twinned with Houston. To be fair, I fly between the US and UK every few weeks with BA, and the service has always been great. I change flights all the time and never had a problem.
Good.
Right, we've got a few minutes. Liz, can you put up the questions from Neil's friend? Because Neil's gone. His internet's failed. What a show today. I've had questions from Neil's friend. If Hattie has time to answer quickly, you've got less than 3 minutes.
Or if you can get him to drop me an email, if you like, Russ, if he hasn't got enough time or if Liz can't put them up, don't worry about it.
Oh, my computer's about to switch. This is unbelievable. No. Guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Hattie. I will send you the edited copy. Kenton, I'm going to get you back on the show. You've been brilliant. Love from Neil. I will be back on Friday with that rapscallion, Mr. Phil, Dave. Until then, take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. Try and stay out of trouble if you possibly can. Bye, gang.
Bye-bye. Bye.